Someone who does not have this vivek, who does not have this wisdom, that person will see that this body and Atma is just the same thing. Then you will have people saying like, you know, you are going to die, might as well live your life, enjoy your life, you only live once. WhyGuru Ji ka Khalsa, WhyGuru Ji ki Fateh. Welcome to another episode of Sikhan di Bhagat Mala, where we explore the Sakhis of Guru Sikhs from the time of Guru Angad Dev Ji this time, as mentioned by Bhai Gurdas Ji and retold by Shahid Bhai Mani Singh Ji. So today's Sakhi is going to be about Bhai Paro Julka, Paramhans, a Sikh of Guru Angad Dev Ji. So Bhai Gurdas Ji in Pauri number 15, they say, Paro Julka Paramhansa, Pure Sadgur Kirpa Tari. Bhai Paro Julka was a Paramhansa. So now what is a Paramhansa? Param means supreme, Hansa is a swan. So here it's a metaphor stating that Bhai Paro Julka was a supreme Sikh, the greatest of the greatest Sikh. Pure Sadgur Kirpatari. And how did he become a Paramhans? Was when the Pura Sadguru, the complete Guru, Guru Angad Dev Ji, blessed him with it. So here Bhai Paro Julka Ji one day comes to Guru Angad Dev Ji and they do a benti. They ask Guru Sahib, Ki Sache Pacha, who is a Paramhans and what are the qualities of a Paramhans? So Guru Angad Dev Ji was very pleased with Bhai Paro Julka asking such a valuable question. And Guru Sahib says that, Bhai Paro Julka Ji, I will tell you who a Paramhans is, and by listening to the Sakhi and by contemplating on it, you too will become a Paramhans, and those who do your Sangat, they also will get the Padvi, the status of a Paramhans. Now, before we go into the description of a Hansa, a Paramhans and their qualities, I want to share with you another pauri that Bhai Gurdas Ji speaks about when it comes to Paramhansa as well. So Bhai Gurdas Ji, in their var, there's a pauri which is called Sad Sangata Man Sarovar. It means that Man Sarovar is the lake, is the place which is also the Sad Sangat. So Bhai Gurdas Ji says, Man Sarovar Akhiye Upar Hansa Suvansa Vasande. Bhai Gurdas Ji says that there is this place called Man Sarovar, and in this lake, the greatest breed of swans, Hansa, they live there. And what do? Moti Manaka Manasar Chona Chona Hansa Amol Chugande. So Bhai Gurdas Ji says that these breed of swans, they only consume Manak Moti, pearls and jewelries from the bottom of the lake. And then Bhai Gurdas Ji continues and they say, Kheer neer nirvarde, lahari andar firan tarande. Kheer neer nivarde, which means that they have the quality to separate milk and pani, and they only consume that milk. So now Guru Angad Dev Ji is explaining the same thing. Guru Angad Dev Ji says, swans, jere hans hunde, they dive deep into the lake, which is here the Mansarovar lake, and they only consume pearls. Then Guru Angad Dev Ji says that these swans, when you put a mixture of milk and pani in front of them, they are able to separate the milk and the pani. How? Because their beak, their chonja is khatti, is sour. So when they keep pecking on the mixture of milk and pani with their sour beak, what will happen is that the milk will start to curdle and it will start to separate from the pani. And these swans then, they leave the pani, they do not consume the water, and they only consume the milk curdle, which means that they have the ability to separate what is good for them and what is not good for them, then leave it out. Now, Guru Angad Dev Ji is explaining who is a Paramhans. So if we know that Hansa are swans, now we're talking about Paramhans, means the greatest of the greatest. And here is speaking about a Guru Sikh. Guru Angad Dev Ji says, a Paramhans is someone who picks out the gems, the jewels and the pearls. And for us Sikha, what is that? That is Gurbani. And Guru Sahib here says something very, very important that all of us should understand as well. Guru Sahib kende, by a Sikha listening, reading and contemplating on Gurbani. So there's three things here that we need to do when it comes to Gurbani. Listen to Gurbani, read Gurbani and contemplate, means to do vichar of Gurbani. Sunya, manya, manikita pao, when we read in Japji Sahib. Now when we do these three things, what do we get? Guru Angad Dev Ji says, out of this, from Gurbani, you will get 10 babbe. And what are they? First one is Bibek, second one Buddhi, and third one is Bichar. So what is Bibek? Bibek means the ability from duality to come into ekta, to come into oneness. So Bibek is the wisdom to be able to identify what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is bad, who is Paramatma, what is this body. Wisdom to understand reality. Then comes the second one, which is Buddhi. Buddhi means intellect. Now when we have good wisdom and good knowledge, only then our intellect will help us to do proper reasoning. So if someone from a young age have not been given good knowledge, good wisdom, when they grow up, that wisdom and knowledge that they have been getting from a very young age will affect their reasoning and decision making, which is based on the intellect. So Guru Sahib says, Bibek and Buddhi. Intellect, Shuddha Buddhi will help the Sikha to make good reasoning. Is this thing good for me? If I do bhakti, is it good for me? If I mix around with these people, is it going to help me in my bhakti? Intellect. And the third one is Bichar. Bichar means contemplation, which means that when we read Gurbani, we contemplate what is Guru Sahib trying to tell us. Or when something is happening around us, we must pause and do Bichar. Is this good for me? How is this going to benefit me? How is it that me mixing around with the world, listening to Chugli Nindya or thinking bad about others, how is it going to affect me and help me? If it's not going to help me, then intellect, make a decision and step away from it. If it is going to help me in my bhakti, use your buddhi and reason with it and do it. So Guru Sahib says, by you listening, reading and contemplating on Gurbani, you will get Bibek, Buddhi and Bichar. And these three babbe, this will become the beak of a Gursik. And when this beak, a Gursik gets these three babbe, that beak of theirs will help them to differentiate between Satta and Asatta, truth and false. So now in this next part, Guru Angad Dev Ji is going to dwell a bit into Brahm Gyan knowledge. It might be a bit deep, a bit difficult to understand, but it is very important for us to learn on what is true and what is not true. So Guru Sahib says that the body and soul, Sarir and Atma, has been entwined into one entity. So now what you see in front of a camera, if you're looking at me, this body is what you see, but within this body is the life force, which is the Atma, that's giving me this energy, this strength to speak, to sit and to do, to act out in my daily life. A Paramhans is someone who can easily differentiate the body and the Atma. Someone who does not have this Bibek, who does not have this wisdom, that person will see that this body and Atma is just the same thing. Then you will have people saying like, you know, you are going to die, might as well live your life, enjoy your life, you only live once. So those kind of people do not understand that body and Atma are two different entities entwined into one. So a Paramhans is able to recognize three qualities of the body and three qualities of the Atma, which we are going to learn in this video as well. So what are the three qualities of the body? The body is Asatta, Jada and Dukhi. Three qualities of the Atma is Satta, Chitta, Ananda. So now let's go through each quality of the body and the soul. Now why is the body Asatta? Asatta means something that's not true, something that's not permanent. Because why? If we look at ourselves now, we were a child, our body was different. Every year our body is changing. I look like this now, but I'm not going to look like this 5 years down the road, which means that it's constantly changing, and something that's always changing cannot be permanent, cannot be true. And this body, when we die, there's no guarantee that we're going to get the same body in our next janam. So again, we do not know about this. So it's asatta, perishable, is not true. The soul, Atma, is satta. Why is it satta? Because the life force that's within me, that's running my body, that's giving me this energy, has been the same for all my past janams. How can I say that? Because I'm in this jivan, I'm in this life, I'm actually paying for my karam from my past life. And the karam that I'm committing in this life, I will be paying either in this life or in the next life. So the question here is, what is that thing that was there in the beginning, in the past, it's still here, and it will be there in the future, helping me to pay my karam? And the answer is Atma. So it was there, it is here, and it will be there, which means that it's permanent, unchanging, and constant, which means that it's Satta. Second thing, Gurbani also says, Atma Paratma eko kare, antar ki dubda antar mare. That Atma and Paramatma is one. And when we believe that Paramatma is constant, unchanging, that WhyGuru is everywhere, Aad Sach, Jugad Sach, Happy Sach, Nanak Hosi Pi Sach, then the qualities of Paramatma is also the same as the qualities of Atma. Now, the second characteristics of the body, Jada. Jada means something who does not recognize itself. Now, when this body becomes lifeless, which means if you look at a dead body and you ask the dead body, do you know who you are? Can you move? Can you recognize yourself? You cannot expect an answer from it. If you look at this chair, you look at the wall behind me, or you look at the table, ask the table or the chair, do you know who you are? Can you do something about yourself? Can you change your life? Can you become a Brahmgyani? They are inanimate. They are jadaru. They do not know who they are. They cannot move or do anything by themselves unless we do sit down, move the table, paint the wall, or do something with it. So, jadaru. The Atma, on the other hand, is chetanaru. Chetan means chetta. Chetan means conscious. The Atma is the one who recognizes itself, who knows its own being, its own identity, and is able to recognize others as well. Now, if I ask myself, who am I? Who am I actually referring to? I'm not referring to this body, because this body, when it becomes lifeless, it cannot identify who it is. So when I ask myself, who am I? Or when I ask you, who are you? Your answer should be reflecting upon the Chetan Roop that is allowing you to be who you are right now, which is Atma. So the body is Jada and the Atma is Chetan Roop, the consciousness that gives us the life force to be able to recognize ourselves, do bhakti, and then connect back to Paramatma. Then the third characteristics of the body is Dukkha. Why? Because this body constantly say ki main dukhi haan, I'm upset, I'm angry, I'm sick, I'm helpless. A lot of negativity or dukkha is connected to this body, right? Atma is Ananda Swarup. There is no illnesses, mental illnesses, physical illnesses, natural disaster, anything that happens to the Atma. It is unaffected by what the body goes through. All the dukkha is inflicted upon the body. So when we look at all the three characteristics of the body, it's complete opposite to that of the Atma. It's Asatta, Jada and Dukkha, and Atma is Satta, Chitta, Ananda Swarup. Ananda Swarup means complete bliss, unaffected by what is happening around the world, just like a Kamal Daful, a lotus flower, unaffected by the karam that the body has to go through, unaffected by what people say or don't say or what people do. It's always in Ananda. Now, even in Jap Sahib as well, Guru Sahib speaks about Paramatma and say the same thing. Sada Sat Dananda Sarvang Paranasi. That Paramatma is Satta Chitta Ananda Swarup and Atma is the same as well. So Guru Angad Dev Ji then continues saying that if a Paramhans, if someone can separate their identity of the body to the Atma through Vivek, Buddha and Vichar, that person becomes a Paramhans. Because why? That Gursikh now will live their life realizing and knowing ki main Atma Swarupya and I'm always in Ananda and I'm unaffected by what happens around me or what happens to this body, and that all the dukkha and all the karam, the body has to go through it. And when the Paramhansa realizes this, that all the dukkha or the jada is connected to this body, then that Paramhans will not indulge themselves in fulfilling the desires and the pleasures of this body, but rather do those things that will help them the Atma Swarup, to unite back with Paramatma. Guru Angad Dev Ji here uses the analogy of a lotus flower. If you look at a lotus flower, it lives in the pond, and the pani around it is dirty, filthy. There's frogs living in the pond. There's other animals, mosquitoes, flies, whatever not is living on the pond. But the lotus flower's concentration, focus always remains on the sun. It doesn't get affected by the dirt or the filth around it. And Guru Angad Dev Ji says that a Paramhansa should also live like that living within this world, which is full of gandha, filth, negativity, the focus of Paramhans should always be on Paramatma. And if the Paramhans can do this, then the Paramhans can live in this world without any bondage, without any attachment, thus not creating further karams and then uniting back with WhyGuru. So Bhai Paro Julka ji then listened to this bachan, to the advice of Guru Angad Dev Ji Maharaj, and he lived his life according to that. So Bhai Paro Julka ji in our Sikh Itihas is known as Bhai Paro Julka Paramhans. So Bhai Paro Julka ji, they themselves became a Paramhans. They were saved from this world, from this Janam, from this June, and eventually they saved their whole lineage with them as well. So Sangaji, for us, our aim should be to become like a Paramhans. A Paramhans, someone who is able to identify what is good, what is bad in their life, leave the bad aside and only consume the good things that helps them to fulfill their jivan, their life purpose, which is to become one with WhyGuru. So for us, we need to contemplate in our life as well, what is good for us. And this, we need to really learn ki the idea of what is good and bad should not be based on what the world is telling us. It should be based on Gurbani. Because the world might say, what's the point of doing Bhakti 8 Pahar? You just have to say WhyGuru one time. Or you don't even have to say WhyGuru with your mouth. It's called Tota Ratan. But Gurbani says, Simaro Simar Simar Sukh Pao. That you should be doing so much of Simran with your tongue, with your heart, with your mind. That Bhagat Ji says as well, Kabir meri simrani rasna uparna. So the idea is good and bad should be based on what Gurbani says and not what the world says. And when we follow that, what Gurbani says, then our path, our life will be much easier, especially when you want to unite back with WhyGuru. So hope you learn from this video as well. Let me know what you think in the comment below. WhyGuru Ji Ka Khalsa, WhyGuru Ji Ki Fateh.